when you've been teaching, what has been your biggest struggle in all of this? Is it having to have, a specific, because I guess within math, you kind of have to stick with what the book says a little bit more than, say, teaching students English. You have probably just a little bit more freedom to choose topics that are interesting. But I guess what has been most difficult in your, or more of a struggle in your professional experience? And I don't know if it comes from the people above, or the school district, or if it's standardized testing, or being assigned a certain school. Is there something that sticks out as being a particular difficult struggle for you?
I'd say it's ego and students are the two biggest struggles. I've come to accept the fact that administration thinks in general that projects are nice, but when are you actually going to deliver and do some teaching? And I like to call myself an ex-teacher, and I'm actually a facilitator or a guide on the side. Some principals don't like this because it seems to let the kids off the hook because they aren't forced to learn how to take notes from a lecture and then produce a well-written essay in a test under a timed condition. Like, that's the only way of expressing or performing understanding. If there are many ways of receiving information, why aren't there many ways of showing that you understood the information? So students themselves may grumble like, hey, wait, I'm doing this big essay and all this, but this other person, he's doing videos. Why is he doing something so much easier? Well, it may be easier for you to do it, but this guy didn't even know how to use a camera, and now he's having to, set up a tripod, learn how to do editing. He's actually spending twice the amount of time that you are on your project, but it's this. Some of the source of difficulty comes from the students themselves because they resist this idea that teaching is really about gradually transferring responsibility for learning to the students, and the students take responsibility for their learning. I welcome becoming an invisible figure. Maria Montessori said the students are working as if the teacher is not there. That is like the ideal teaching situation. And yet, when you're evaluated, if you look at an evaluation form, it's what did the teacher do, and then what did the students do in response? What did the teacher do? What did the students do in response? What negative situation did the student go through? What was the teacher's response? Was it effective or not? Rather than just saying, focused on, what are we trying to achieve here? Is it, what's the big goal? Does every student appear on task? That is typically what they want to know. And they want the task often to be, is the teacher lecturing? So therefore, is the task note-taking? Is every student in that room taking notes? So a sign of a well-ordered classroom is one where there's one person talking and 25 pens moving. So this is suddenly, this must mean there's learning taking place. Whereas if you look at the video that I'm going to email you, you go to YouTube and you type in Eusenis, you will see examples of classrooms where there's milling about. It looks like a circus. or like a newspaper office. There are editors working with reporters over here, and you could imagine, oh, here's some photographer, and they're bringing in something, and you could imagine that the students, okay, so they're 13, 14-year-olds. It's middle school. They're just milling around. They're making projects come to life. They're interacting with each other. You listen in and you think, well, wait, what are they really talking about? Well, it's shifting to, what party is happening next weekend. But then it's back, boy, that gun that you're making out of clay, shouldn't it have a longer barrel? So it looks like a workplace, because if you walk into a lot of workplaces, there's casual talk going on. There are people checking their cell phones. There's interactions about, personal minutia, and then you get back to work. So it looks as though people are not on task because of the box that's called on task. You want to have some sort of monolith, and every student has to be working in a particular way. So depending on how you measure Dennis Uzenis, he's either a fabulous teacher who is creating diversity and differentiation and individualized learning, or he is someone who has lack of classroom control and does not exercise a proper sense of direction for the class, because it's clear that this class is not working together. They're not doing one activity in that class. So when you look at the video, you might be surprised at your own response. This doesn't look like the typical classroom, and that's special because these are things that I went through, like he has a classroom with lots of computers in it. How could I possibly create a classroom where there are lots of workstations, people working on a poster over here, and people making a clay pot over here, and another group over here doing a different kind of a project. How could I possibly allow that? I really need to have one thing that every student will be working on. And typically when you have a group of 20 people working in a company, that's not the case. There are people who are specialized in things. Now, why not have 5 posters being made at the same time? Sure, it's sort of like an ad agency. You've got 5 accounts. They're all working on something. But it might be that one person's working on a video, one person is sketching out, this is how we want to create a brochure. It could be a project that everybody's working on. It's been differentiated. You've assigned people. Maybe someone's going to be the talent in front of the video, and they're writing the script. It's not clear to me that an effective teacher has to be graded on a special activity that we're looking for. I had a principal tell me that, look, here's a circle, and she drew a circle. He said, when I'm in the room, you're jumping through that circle. You know what I'm looking for? Produce it, please. I want you to be, presenting material. I want you to be checking that the students have received that material. I want to see them practicing to use that information. And then I want to see somehow how you check their understanding later in the lesson to make sure it's been retained. It's very clear that she's wanting to have some sort of uniform activity so that we all can be writing down, this is what the teacher did. He had a goal. This is what he did to achieve that goal. And he moved the entire class. There was only one person who was off task, and the teacher moved that person through. So, I can play the game. And then when the inspector leaves the room, we say, okay, guys, back to your projects. And, that's why I encourage people to look at other ways. I'm not saying this is the uniform way of doing projects in the classroom. there's as much diversity as there are projects. And there are certainly times when a lecture helps to galvanize and get people on the right track. It's just, let's try to keep the lectures under 5 minutes. And if possible, engage people. Why not have the lecture in the form of a little video that they watch outside of class? They can watch it when they want to, and then they walk into class with